Okay, start streaming. Done. Okay, that's working. So then, can you send this to Jeff or let me?
Is it a different link?
Yeah, it's gonna be a different link.
Okay.
Okay, so copy. I'm gonna go to your messages.
It might be the same link.
Okay. Oh wait, that's not a.
No, that's stream URL. That would be it, right?
But that's not.
You don't think that's good?
I mean, try it, but it doesn't seem like a detailed enough URL to be.
Oh no.
It's opening up. There's got to be. Is there like a sharing?
How did I just do it just now?
Or let's go to your channel and find it there, and
Yeah,
then
well,
copy that.
yeah, I'm looking for it there. Okay, so it's public now, right? Okay. Well, let's will you work on that and we'll start.
Can you? Here,
Yeah.
wait.
Is it the same link?
Here, wait. Hang on. Let me see. 18.
It might be the same link.
Your videos. No views, 2 minutes. Okay, this has your logo on it. We'll see here. 2 minutes. Okay, this has your logo.
That's it. So you want let's do that
So
to
we're gonna
Jeff.
copy. Yeah. Can you send that to me too? We'll see here. 2 minutes. Okay, this has your. Okay.
Where is that? Where's the share link?
Should be up to. Oh, that one.
There it is. Copy link.
Okay.
Okay, I sent it to you.
Right.
You also, Jeff.
Okay.
Technical things.
All right, I've got you.
It's live, and you can actually see. All right,
Yeah.
so we are live at Jeff Coffin's studio in Nashville, Tennessee. We just
Saying
worked
this,
out.
saying this to my mom. I'm not ignoring you. I'm
Nice.
sending it to my mom.
So we can say hey to Jeff Coffin's mom. And
Hey, Mom.
And she's where?
She's in New Hampshire, actually.
Uh-huh.
They got a little snow yesterday.
Oh, wow. Very different than the spring here. And you grew up there?
I grew up there for a little bit, yeah. So I'm still trying to send this to her.
No worries.
Right. Here we go. Yeah, I grew up in New Hampshire for about 5 or 6 years.
Is it music
High school.
mecca?
Yeah, yeah, certainly.
Nice. Well, let's go back there in a minute. But so I was asking you when we thought the stream was started, when you moved to Nashville. You said 91.
1991, yeah, January of 91. I came here basically right out of college. I did a cruise ship for a couple of months. Came here basically right after that.
And
Almost joined the Navy.
Whoa.
Accepted the gig twice, and both times was taken back. And I was like, this is not what I'm supposed to be doing.
You did some gigs for them.
No, I accepted the gig.
Oh, you accepted?
They offered me the gig twice. I said yes twice,
Uh-huh.
and both times it was taken away.
So how did you decide?
Very interesting.
Yeah. How did you decide on Nashville? And so obviously the Navy gig wasn't meant to be. So you
Right.
Yeah. Why Nashville?
I knew somebody here. I thought about New York, but everybody I knew in New York was super dark,
Mm.
and I was like, I can't go there.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought about San Francisco. Joe Henderson was out there, and I was thinking about studying with him. And he said that he would take me as a student, but that he was really never there, and there was no scene. So I was like, well, so much for that.
Mm-hmm.
And LA wasn't even in the cards.
Like it's not interested in it.
No, I'm not a big fan of LA.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's a bit too spread out for me. And,
Mm.
no offense to our LA fans, but
Yeah.
there's just kind of a pretentiousness that surrounds the city,
Mm.
which I think is kind of that whole Hollywood kind of thing. There's some great stuff. There's some amazing musicians, and there's some really earthy stuff going on out there, which is great. But at that time, to me, it was very sort of it was super trendy, and it's like it matters what kind of car you drive and what you wear and all this
Not your style.
It's just that, it's just like it's stuff that's not important,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
If it is important, then that's probably not the scene I'm going to be in.
mm-hmm.
It's not a scene that I would be interested in being in either.
Yeah.
What kind of car I drive is irrelevant to who I am and what I do and, my community of people. And so, anyhow, yeah, LA wasn't in the cards. But so I knew somebody here. He was a second engineer, and he had a place over behind Belmont on 18th. And the rent was $250 a month, including utilities. That came with mice, by the way.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
mice were free. And so yeah, I kind of wanted a place to start to compose, and I needed quiet after school, and so came here and started working a little bit. I had developed some throat problems when I was on the ship. I was kind of bullfrogging, like these pockets underneath were coming out
when you're playing.
when I would play, and took me about a year, and maybe a little bit more than that actually, to kind of figure that out. Maybe a couple of years actually, and I thought I was almost done.
Like your technique, you had to redo your technique.
Yeah, I had to change gear, and basically go back to certain fundamentals, because these muscles felt like they were starting to tear when I would play, and I would be leaking air out of my nose. It was a back pressure issue, basically. And so through the help of a saxophonist named Michael Brecker, he literally saved my career. Didn't know me from Adam.
Really?
And but I wrote to him and explained what was going on. And out of the blue, about a month later, he called. He'd just gotten back from Europe. And we talked for probably 20 minutes on his dime, and talked about how I was playing, what I was playing, what was going on with everything. And I absolutely credit him with saving my career.
So he gave you advice through that phone call where you were able to make changes that...
Yeah, and we talked a couple of times. I had to wear an ace wrapper on my neck every time I played. I had to change mouthpieces. I went back to fundamentals of breathing. It's one of the reasons why I'm a big proponent of fundamentals. It's because I know what it did for me. And so that's everything. That's the entire foundation. You can be Frank Gehry if you want to be Frank Gehry, but you got to know about foundation. So those are things that are important.
Yeah, very nice. So Nashville back in the early '90s, like paint a picture, please.
Wow. Well, you know what crickets sound like?
Yeah.
Pretty much that.
Cicadas, too, right? Yeah.
It was quiet. It was very, very different. It was super earthy. People that were.
Sorry.
Yeah.
The cameras got cut off.
Oh, we don't
So
need those anyway.
PCAM is still going.
Okay. Sorry.
Oh, that's good. This is live.
This is live.
So this is why I love live music. Also, it's like you don't know what's going to happen.
Exactly.
This is like the element of improvisation, which the Latin root of which is improvisus, which translated means unforeseen or unexpected. Right? I mean, I tend to think of live streams and live music as all improvisations. Right? You never know what you're going to get. These kinds of things happen, and these are the kinds of things that I love. These little moments, like, oh, what's next, or how do you deal with this? How do you deal with that? And it's just fascinating to me. I love it.
Yeah,
I
me
love
too. It gets my energy going.
Yeah, it's a different thing. It's almost like a controlled panic or something. It's like kind of seeing like all these different things are going on. How am I going to deal with this?
Yeah, how can I breathe and figure out what to do? So okay, so it was slow. It was crickets. It was Nashville in the early.
Yeah. There was stuff going on. I mean, like you could still go to the Bluebird the day of, and like even after the show started, you could still get in, And I remember the first person I played with in town was this Americana artist named Hal Ketchum.
Yeah.
And so he would record over at this place called Jack's Tracks, which is owned by Alan Reynolds, that Garth owns now, down on Music Row. And as Garth Brooks, for those of you not in the know. And so he was playing, and he said, "Do you have your horn?" I was like, "No, I'm just here to hang out." And so he said, "Well, get your horn." So I went back to the house and got the horn and came back, and So I started working a little bit at first, but the scene at that time was pretty closed off. There weren't horn players moving here. It's nothing like it is now. We have hundreds of musicians every month basically coming to town. And back then, when somebody would move into town, it would spread like wildfire. Like then by the next day, people knew, and it was interesting because there were techniques that people would use to kind of find out how people played. To kind of protect their turf almost in some ways, and which is understandable. The scene was sort of insulated in that way. And
what would they do?
Like they would get together and play certain things, or call people for certain demo sessions, just kind of trial and error, and it's interesting, like I think every scene has this, but Nashville has its own kind of head games that people play too, and which I've never subscribed to. It's very interesting. It's very interesting, and I don't think it's malicious in any way, but I think that it's territorial, and so, and I know this happens in Los Angeles. I know it happens in New York. It's only natural that it happens here also, and so for me, coming in from the outside, not having been in the scene before, it was very interesting watching that play out. Not just with me, but as other people moved into town also. And some people would be embraced, and other people would not be embraced. And I'm not quite sure what it was that endeared either of those things. And so it's kind of fascinating in an anthropological kind of way, of studying human behavior and musician behavior. So it's just been, and having been here now 35 years, but I've been on the road since '97, pretty much full time, and first with Béla, Fleck, and now with Dave Matthews. But I also work in town. I do session work in town, and I teach at Vanderbilt. I've been there for 11 and a half years. Do a lot of my own stuff. We have a lot of sessions up in this room here, recording wise, and even like workshopping music, original music. Anywhere from a duo up to 15 people, sometimes more. So I've had other clinics, like other clinicians up here also, and these kinds of things. So it's it's fun. It's just it's a big experiment, man. Basically, the whole thing.
Yeah. I think I met you about 10 years. I moved here 10 years ago, and it was when Sori and Agat were in town.
Yep.
And you all were rehearsing with Jordan Perlson on drums, and I think Future Man. I think Roy Wooten was playing percussion, and then who was playing bass? Was it Victor Krause or?
Might have been Victor Krause.
Yeah, I think it may have been.
Yeah.
So anyways, I remember coming up here for a rehearsal and then hearing you all at that house concert, a beautiful house in Greenville.
Oh, right.
Yeah, that was really beautiful. But it was nice to move here and see different types of music, and you definitely are encouraging and leading the way, I think, in a lot of ways with creative music here in Nashville.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, well, thank you. So you said you played with Roy Ketchum? Is that right?
Hal Ketchum.
Hal Ketchum,
Yeah,
who's
Hal
a
Ketchum.
well-known artist. How did you eventually meet Béla Fleck, and like where did that happen in the whole order of your moving here?
Yeah, well, so I just wanted to play music that I wanted to play, as well as that I was writing, and so I needed a place to do that. So I started a jam session, and originally it was at the Sutler, which was over on 8th, like kind of down 8th.
Same place where it was a few years ago?
Yeah. And I've been in the union since I moved here also, and so with the union, at the time, and really still, you're not supposed to do gigs that don't pay or that are door gigs, right? So I had to go before the union board because I'd never been in a union before. I had no idea what I was doing. And so the pianist B.G. Adair, who was a legend here, she came with me. And, I kind of presented the idea before the board, and so they approved it, so I was able to do it without any kind of union interference. And so I ran that for about 9 years, and we did it in a few different places. And there was a drummer named Tom Pollard who came through one time, who lived here apparently at one time, but lives up in New York now also. And so he and Béla had known each other, and he had heard me play and left a message with Béla and said, hey, there's a horn player in town that I'm not sure you know about, and you guys should connect at some point. So I was in Aspen. It's a strange story. I was in Aspen with this guy named Max Carl, who had a group, 5-horn band, and he was a brilliant, brilliant soul singer. And we had the day off, night off. I was hanging with my friend Bill Fanning, who was playing trumpet in the band, and the Flecktones were in town, in Aspen. And I said, well, if we can find Vic, I said, I bet we can go to the show tonight. So we had it off, Literally like 30 seconds later, Vic is walking down the middle of the street at us. And so we chat, and he says, yeah, it's sold out, but whoever wants to come, just come, you guys can stand in the back.
Mm.
So,
you knew Vic from Nashville.
Yeah, I knew Roy a bit also.
Mm.
So go to the show, and I wasn't sure I was going to stay for the entire thing. So I went down during the break to say thanks for the tickets and, blah, 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 say hello. So I met Béla, and he said, well, I've got a message to look you up when I get home. Like, why are you in Aspen? And I said, well, first of all, that's really weird, and told him why I was there. And he said, well, can you hang till the end of the show? And I'm kind of in gig mode. Can we talk after the show? So I hung, and we talked about, why I was in Nashville, what I was doing, kind of where I was musically, where my head was at, stuff that I was listening to, stuff that I was into, composing, et cetera, et cetera. So we got together. He said, let's get together after I'm home, have a little jam at my place, and just hang out, And it was great. We have a very similar sense of humor, kind of dry and twisted and silly and juvenile and all those good things, right? And so, we really hit it off. He asked me to sit in with them at a place called Cafe Milano, which used to be here in town. And they were doing a 5-night run around Christmas in 06. I'm sorry, 1996, not 06. 1996. And Stuart Duncan was supposed to play, the great fiddle player, and his daughter had the flu, couldn't make it. So Béla said, well, why don't you just play the whole night with us? I said, well, I don't know any of your tunes. And so he said, well, we'll do that Ornette thing, and there's this blues, there's a couple of Christmas tunes, and I remember I wrote Sunset Road out on a napkin and taped it to my microphone, and we had a great time. It was really fun, and kind of got into some stuff with Future Man, some duo stuff, and Béla was like, man, he says, I heard him go to some places I haven't heard him go to before, and which was super fun, and it was like great. And he paid me for the gig, which I didn't expect, which was very nice of him. And a couple of days later, he called and asked if I wanted to do a few road dates, which were up in Vermont. And I said yes, of course, and I was terrified. Paul McCandless had written out some charts back in the day, and there's a book of some stuff also, so I had some stuff to work with. And we had a couple of really short rehearsals, and I was utterly befuddled. And because there's a lot on meter stuff, and the way they're playing it, they had been together for like 8 years.
Mm-hmm. They were very established at that point.
Very established, yeah. So we're on the bus going up to Vermont. It was in maybe Burlington. We're going up, and I remember saying to Béla, I said, man, how am I going to know when to solo? And he said, just look at me and I'll nod to you. And I'm thinking, oh dear God, right? I'm completely screwed here. So we did the first gig, and I'm talking to him after the gig, and I said, hey, man, I appreciate this so much, and I'm so thankful for the opportunity. And I said, but I'm cool to go home on a bus tomorrow morning. Just send me back. you know.
Because you were worried that it wasn't going well, or why?
Yeah, I was like, he was like, what are you talking about? I said, man, I said, your audience knows this music so well, you know, and I don't know it at all. And I said, you know, I feel like I'm an anchor, you know, and you guys are like birds flying in the air. And he's like, he said, that was great for a first gig. He said, Richard tapes everything, go back and listen to it.
Mm.
And he said, get some rest. He said, I'll see you tomorrow. It was great.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh God, you know, and it was okay. You know, I went back and I listened to it. It was okay. And then we had 3 nights at the Knitting Factory, which for me at the time was like going to Mecca. You know, it was like John Zorn and Frizzell and Thomas Chapin, all these heroes of mine were playing there, and it was New York. I had never played in New York before, so it was kind of monumental in a lot of ways, in that sense. And a friend of mine, Dave Theatre, who I've known since I was 16, he came to one of the shows and you know, we were talking. He said, man, he said just 2 things for advice. He said, get your soprano sound together. You know, he said, it sounds good. Tenor sounds great. Soprano sounds okay. He said, work on that because there's going to be a lot of that in this gig. He said, number 2 and most important, get off the page.
Mm-hmm.
You know, make yourself indispensable to this band. He said, because what you can bring this band, he said, I think is really, really significant.
Mm-hmm.
And because it kind of put the voice into the group,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because the other instruments, they don't have to breathe to play. But with the woodwind, right, you can only phrase for so long. So it becomes almost a vocal,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like a wordless vocal. And so I spent 14 years with him. And we just did another tour in November and December of last year. I just felt like going home.
Mm-hmm.
Felt it was so easy. Howard Levy was supposed to be there for that. He got sick, couldn't make it. He's gonna be fine, thank the gods, you know. And but it was great, man, revisiting this music that we hadn't played for 15 or 16 years, and just fell in, man. It was just
I was wondering, was there a freshness, a fresh feeling to jumping back in?
definitely a fresh feeling.
Not
with
bad.
it. Yeah, definitely a fresh feeling. And you know, for myself, there were certain things that I felt stronger about. You know, just my confidence as a musician has grown, and you know, I'm 120 years old, so you know, like I think part of it comes with just with age, with maturity and experience, you know.
Yeah.
And so it was a blast, man. It just felt really great.
So was that your graduate school, with the school of Béla, Fleck, and the Flecktones?
I would say so, yeah.
Uh-huh. Real world experience?
Yeah, I mean, it's the practical application of all the material.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the things that I talk to my students about too, is how do we use the material that we're working on in a practical application,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because that's what we want you to work. So all my students are working, all of them,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and they're in the senior, they're playing down on Broadway, they're doing gigs, they're playing at Rudy's Jazz Room. So I'm very, very proud of that and proud of them, because they understand that they have a role to play within the situation. Just like when I'm with Dave or Béla or on my own stuff or in the studio, whatever it may be. Like I have to figure out very quickly what that role is and play it,
Mm-hmm.
you know, but also retain who I am and in the midst of all that.
Mm-hmm.
And so those are things that I work on, that I have my students working on.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if they're playing a ballad and they play some really out phrase or whatever, I've stopped them before and say, you just lost the gig,
Mm-hmm.
right? Nobody wants to hear that. Play that on your show,
Mm-hmm.
you know, explore on your time, right? If you're on a gig, it's easy to get a gig. How do you keep a gig?
Mm-hmm.
You play the appropriate way.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you go in and you do the job, you play the role, you get there a half hour early. You know, there's no BS. Don't make excuses. You know, it's not about you, it's about the gig.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can shine in that situation, man, then shine. You know, there's nothing wrong with that.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, you got to know what your role is. And you've got to play in a way that's appropriate for the music that you're playing. And this is in a nutshell to me. in any situation, you can be one of two things. You can be an asset, or, you know what I'm about to say,
Yeah.
right? So everyone wants to work with an asset.
Yeah.
No one wants to work with the other one.
Were you a Boy Scout?
I was actually. I was a
Okay.
Cub Scout, actually.
Okay,
Yeah.
it makes sense because you seem like you have the like. Okay, I have this. I'm ready. Like you have that.
Man, I am overly prepared.
Yeah.
I try to be overly prepared, right? Because I do not want to be the person that is holding everybody back.
Mm.
You know, and I don't understand. This is hard for me to comprehend, but when you get to a rehearsal, like sometimes cats haven't even listened to the music.
Mm.
Never mind looked at the charts. You know, and rehearsal is not. That's not the time to be doing that. Rehearsal is the time you put it together,
Mm-hmm.
where you've done the homework. And I've been in many situations with very high level players. And it's frustrating. Me as a leader, it's the worst job I've ever had in my life.
Mm.
I hate it.
Mm.
But I do it, you know, because it's important to me.
Mm.
And I try to play with musicians now who actually take time to prepare the music.
Mm.
And because I am not going to be chasing people anymore.
Mm.
I'm done,
Yeah.
you know. And that's part of the work that has to be done. Is there's homework that has to be done before you get there, you know. And so that's why I send charts early. I send MP3s. I try to make it as easy as possible for people to play my music.
Mm.
There's a female drummer in town who I'm doing some mentoring with, and we've talked about that with her charts.
Mm.
She's a brilliant composer and a wonderful musician, and a band leader also.
Mm.
And we talked recently, and I said we did a clinic together with her music, and I said, you know, these charts are wrong. She's like, oh yeah, and I need to fix them. I said, yes, because
Like hard to read or.
well, they were just like forms were incorrect.
Mm.
And
Oh, like
you
they
know,
weren't the correct form.
they weren't correct, yeah. And so we talked about it, and I gave her a little good-natured ribbing about it,
Mm.
and I said, you're asking us to come in 15 minutes before and read this stuff. I said, so your job as the leader is to make sure this is right, not our job
Mm.
as the side people to decipher it,
Mm.
you know, and so I mean these are things that are important that even at Vanderbilt, you know, this is why they're there. Sometimes you're like, oh man, I'm really sorry. I'm like, no, don't apologize.
Mm.
I'm not asking for your apology, you know. I'm telling you this because this is why you're here.
Mm.
You know, if somebody asks me a question, if they ask me to mentor them, to help them with something, hey, how can I do this better? I'm just going to be honest with them about it, right? It's nothing personal,
Mm.
right? It's not, and I tell this to the students too. I said, don't take anything that we say here personally, because that's not what it's about. You're here to learn, and we're here to help you learn. So the things we're telling you aren't about you. I'm not saying you're a bad person, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to tell you that. But I am going to say, you're not doing this well, you know, or, you know, you're not coming in prepared. You need to get your shit together.
These are things you can improve on.
Right. Strengths and weaknesses.
Yeah.
Right. And working on those things in a way that helps them to develop. Again, the practical application of those things,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that they can forward their career.
Yeah. So who are some of your mentors, and what are some things that you learned from them?
So many. Dave Pietro was one of them for sure.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we were talking this time when he was here, and I said, I don't think you remember this, but I said when I got to North Texas, we were talking to somebody, and they were like, "Oh, hey man, it's gonna be great. We're gonna hang, we're gonna party together, blah blah blah." And Dave was like, man, he said, Jeff is here to work. He's gonna be in the shed all the time, you know. And I just thought, wow, man, someone believes in me,
Mm-hmm.
you know. That was huge.
Uh-huh.
It was a huge moment.
He
for
was
me.
there at the time that you were there.
He was. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And but we met in New Hampshire.
Uh-huh.
And so there are many musicians. All the musicians who I've played with were my most profound influences.
Mm.
And but books also. There was a sweet little book called Illusions, written by a guy named Richard Bach,
Mm.
who wrote Jonathan Livingston Seagull also, and
Oh,
a few
yeah.
others. And this book Illusions really turned me around. It's given to me by a friend.
Not a music book.
No,
Yeah,
it's not.
not a
It's subtitled "The Adventures of a Reluctant Messiah,"
Oh, okay.
and so it's this whole story of this guy Donald Shimoda and Richard Bach, and how they meet and become friends, and Donald Shimoda has these kind of fantastical otherworldly powers, kind of like the powers of Jesus to heal and all these different things. Anyways, in that book, there's a thing called the Messiah's Handbook, and when you turn to a page, if you hold the thought in your head, your answer is there, right? He says that my answers will be different than your answers because there's different questions, and so there are different phrases in there that I really like. One of which said, "Rarely do the members of your family grow up under the same roof," which, as a musician, we understand that very well. You understand that very well, also. And there was another one that got me through a lot of hard times, like practice-wise, and that was, "You are never given a wish without also being given the power to make it come true. You may have to work for it, however." And so it was the second half of that for me. You may have to work for it, however. I was like, I'm not afraid of hard work. You know, I'm kind of a workaholic anyway, and but I love what I do, and so it's that saying, you know, if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. And but it's a lot of work.
Yeah,
it's a lot of time and a lot of hours, and I was shedding 8 to 12 hours a day.
Well, I was going to ask you,
every day.
So what did practice look like then as opposed to now? Like
very different. You know, we had practice rooms then, and I would go in as soon as I woke up, straight to the practice room. If I had 20 minutes between a class, I would go to the practice room, do some long tones or do some scales, anything. And I was doing literally 8 to 12 hours a day, 12 on weekends. I was holding 21 credit hours, so I wasn't sleeping much, you know. So it was a challenge. Didn't have much of a social life, a little bit, but not much, for a few years. And but I knew what I had to do, and I knew that it was going to take time and effort. And I had to practice for my other classes, for my music ed classes and all this. It was a lot, man.
I bet.
It was a lot.
So what did your practice look like then? Like what kind of things would you practice and what not?
I was doing a lot of fundamental things. I was doing a lot of scale work, a lot of mode work within the scales, transcriptions, long tones, intonation exercises, intervallic exercises, learning tunes, those kinds of things, articulation exercises, vibrato exercises, and you know, going through the multiple keys, also learning licks, patterns, these kinds of things. I would write everything down in a notebook and keep a logbook of all the
what you're practicing.
Like what tempos, how long I did it for, what the date was, what keys I was working in, so that when I came back to it, I would know what it was. And but I would fall asleep practicing sometimes. Like literally, I'd have the horn in my mouth, and I would nod off, and I would still be playing, and then I would kind of come out of it and be like, what?
That's like from a movie.
What am I doing?
Was it kind of, it sounds like it would be diminishing returns at that point.
Oh yeah, I mean at that point it's awful, you know. Yeah. It's like sleep deprivation.
It's like if I'm like, oh, I'm not cycling, but I'm practicing and I'm like checking my emails, you know, like not very focused. Right? Not saying that wasn't focused, but it's amazing to spend that much time practicing. So like now what is it like?
Well, it's different now. So there's certain things that I work on according to what I have coming up next. So I've just started in the last couple of days going over the Dave Matthews stuff. Our first gig is May 3rd in Memphis. So every day I'm taking a couple hours to kind of go back into that material.
Like refresh.
Yeah, because even though I've played it a ton, there's still things we haven't played since September. And I've done 2 records since then. I've written a lot of material, played a lot of other music. So I've got to get it just kind of back in, you know. And I have a very busy April with a multitude of things, including this gig I'm doing next week with Rashawn in Annapolis at a school there. We'll be playing at Ram's Head on Tuesday, I think it is. All that info is on my site.
JeffCoffin.com.
JeffCoffin.com, right? And so, you know, stuff that's taking me out of town, Vanderbilt stuff. My niece is getting married. There's a lot of other things along the path. So I have to look to see where my path is clear, and I have to take advantage of those periods and work on that music.
So have you always had good time management?
I think so. My wife doesn't think so, but I think so. I mean, her time management is amazing, and I think mine is probably better than most, quite honestly.
Well, it sounds like I need 3 hours here on this many days.
And I know how to use my time. Like when I'm jumping into it, I know how to use my time. The phone is a big pain in the butt because it's kind of always on, and there's stuff going on until 10 or 11 at night, and so when I'm in those places, I just have to turn it over and just leave it. So there's distractions. I wouldn't say I'm easily distracted. Certainly not like younger people are, but I am distractible, certainly.
And there's a lot of distractions out there.
A lot of distractions out there, yeah, absolutely. And our phone, I think, is probably the biggest one.
Yeah. I think I'm deleting social media off my phone. Probably doing it.
Yeah, I've done that before. I also put, Facebook like all the way, so I have to flip through screens.
Yeah.
7 screens to get to it, and so I figure if I have to work for it, sometimes I'm not going to go there. And I call it anti-social media.
Yeah.
But I think the platform is important. I have gotten a lot of grief for some of my posts. More times than I can count. I've been told to shut up and play. And that's just not going to happen. I mean, as an artist, as a musician, as somebody that exists in this world, that's just not going to happen.
Well, you speak your mind. From what I see on social media, you speak your mind about something that is important. Something that you see as important. Yeah. And that leads me to something I was thinking about before coming here was, it seems like something you've probably given some thought to, but like, what do you think an artist's role is with what's happening in the world? Because I mean, sometimes it's really easy to feel helpless, but there is there's a level of communication that you have as an artist, and so what have you come to as what your role is?
I think it depends on the person. For me, I'm not condescending. I don't cut people down. I don't call people names. I disagree vehemently sometimes. I'll block people if they tell me to shut up and play. It's my boundary. I'm like, gone. I'm not even going to discuss it. And or if they say derogatory stuff about my bandmates, who are family to me, gone. That's about the two things,
So you're okay with discussion or disagreement? It's just the
absolutely, yeah,
disrespect is not.
I don't like disrespect. I don't like how people treat each other on either side of the agreement, and I don't like the name calling. It's we were doing so well with anti-bullying, and then Trump came along and bullies everybody, and I think it's awful.
Yeah,
I think it's awful.
Likewise.
And so the name calling, in my opinion, really needs to stop. And it won't, but I believe it should. And so the things that I post about, I post a lot about a plethora of things. Some are political, many are musical. Some have to do with my photography. Some have to do with my record label and the music that I put out. Some are me traveling, whatever. The algorithm, people are seeing certain things. It's like, all you ever do is post political, and it's not. It's so far from the truth, right? And but my page is open to everybody. My pages are open to everybody, and so I feel like I do have a responsibility with a platform to share the things that are important to me. And if people don't like them, they don't have to read them. I'm okay with that. I think people forget that these are opinions that we have. I can put out things that are factual. And be like, I really hate this. I think this is wrong. I don't like the direction of this. I think that, to for example, to threaten a civilization of people.
Yeah, that one really got me.
Yeah. I think that hit home for a lot of people. Yeah. And but I didn't post about it. I had my post already, and my little inner voice said, "Wait."
What? Why?
Because my thought was, this is a bluff, right? This is a bluff and kind of a blunder, and they're going to figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
And sure enough, man, like his whole thing is like this whole 2-week plan.
Mm-hmm.
That, you know, he's a charlatan.
Mm-hmm.
And as heinous as that was, I just thought, I don't need to point this one out.
Okay.
You know,
Yeah,
that was part of it for me.
Yeah.
And but there are other things where I feel like I have to talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
And I far from agree with everything on the Democrat side, but I even further disagree with all the things on the right.
Mm-hmm.
And I think people should live how they are and be who they want to be. And you know, if you want to put on women's clothes and that's who you are, great.
Mm-hmm.
I accept you.
Mm-hmm.
It's totally fine. If you want to be called by a different name, great. I'll call you by that different name.
Mm-hmm.
Different pronouns, great. I don't care.
Mm-hmm.
You tell me what you want, and it's your life, and I accept it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I don't know what people are so scared of, quite honestly.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a fear.
Yeah.
You know, and but it's also a prejudice. It's a bigotry. We see it in a lot of different forms.
Yeah.
You know, but I think for me, you know, I never tag the band in my posts because I'm not speaking for the band. So I'm speaking for me. You know, and the things that Dave says, that's the things that Dave says. Don't come to me about what Dave says any more than going to him about the things that I say.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's independent in that sense, and autonomous in that sense. And I think that's an important distinction.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, as a citizen of the world, as someone that's traveled literally around the world to many, many different cultures in the world, I see a lot of similarities in who we are and how we want to live, the things that we want for each other. And you know, I see the policies of the U.S. being very, very, very controlling, and in a way that I never thought I would see it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, as a musician, you know, my job is to play music also, professionally.
Mm-hmm.
And my attitude with that is that I'm trying to bring joy to people. So I can see where some people might be like, okay, well, you're trying to bring joy, but you're also like putting out all this other stuff. I'm like, well, to me, those things are connected, but they're also separate, right? There's a connectivity to them because art is informed by what's going on around us. You know, it has to be contemporary influences that are going on. They have to be in our music, right? I can't bury my head and expect to create something that I feel is relevant in any way. So artists have always tried to reflect issues that are going on, politics, social implications, rights, civil rights, the whole thing. You know, it's like you can tell Marvin Gaye to shut up and sing, or Aretha, or Mavis Staples, or Otis Redding, or Sam Cooke, and Mahalia Jackson. The list goes on and on and on, right? And Nina Simone, right? You know, so I get the argument, right? But I get to make the choice, and people don't have to agree with it, and that's fine, right? But they get to make their choice also. You know.
Well, I think what you're saying, you have a platform and you have a perspective, and for you not to share it, you would not be being yourself.
My true self, right? And it's funny because people will try to tell me to not do something, to not tell somebody else not to do something, and I'm like, okay, so you're asking me not to tell them to do something as you're telling me not to do something, right? It's like there's such a dichotomy, and I get it. You know, again, it's anti-social media, and but the things that I'm trying to do on there are sort of out of the algorithm. I'm not like, I'm just, you know, oh, I hate you and you're a piece of crap, and you know, it's you know, I don't call people names, and I don't bully people, and I'm not derogatory. I try not to ever be derogatory towards them, and if I have been, you know, I've tried to apologize or remove the post, Because there are certain things I want to say sometimes that I definitely do not say.
Mm-hmm.
And
censor yourself.
I just don't want to go there.
Yeah.
You know, there's no need.
Mm-hmm.
There's no need to say those things that are in this brain. And so yeah, we have to censor ourselves sometimes.
Yeah. How does living a creative life, what does that mean to you, and like how do other disciplines influence what you do?
It's a good question. I mean, for me, living a creative life is 24/7. The surroundings, the people I'm around, the music that I'm trying to make, the way I approach things, the way I approach people, the way I approach situations, the things that I choose to do or not to do. You know, if you look around in the studio, there's art everywhere. There's things from in the houses like this too, as you've seen. There's little pieces of my life everywhere. You know, there's stuff from Peru, there's stuff from the islands, there's stuff from New Orleans, there's stuff from college. This flute over here you were asking about earlier is from Africa. I've got, you know, all sorts of stuff from gigs and.
I saw you got some gongo mas over there.
I don't even know what that is.
Gongo mas, it looks like a thumb piano.
Oh, the thumb piano, yeah. Yeah, which is made with the blade of a saw,
yeah,
of a hacksaw.
and it's like bzz, bzz,
Yeah. So, yeah, you can get tetanus from pretty much everything.
Just be careful.
Just be careful.
And basically, you also do visual art, and you
do a lot of visual art, a lot of photography.
Is that unwinding? Like, I mean, because that's not you're a professional musician who also. I mean, I don't know. Maybe you're a professional photographer and a professional visual artist too. I mean, I know you make album art and that sort of thing. Like, but is it the same thing or is it different? Those things.
Well, there is both of those things. It's a lot the same in the sense of like composition and creativity. But it's different because I'm not trying to make money with them. It's not my living, you know. So they're both hobbies that I'm really deeply into, and I've been consolidating old hard drives of photos onto a 5 terabyte drive, and I've been going through some stuff the last few days. There's so many photographs, and I've been awful about the way that I store them, right? And but I've got stuff that's just unbelievable. You know, from back in the day, like Béla hanging out with like Vassar Clemens you know, just like stuff with oh God, what's his name? This Land Is Your Land.
Oh, Guthrie? Woody?
No, it wasn't Woody Guthrie, but like contemporary. Anyways, banjo player, just like stuff that nobody else has. I've got stuff with Matthews also from the last 18 years that nobody has. Not even, you know, we have great photographers who come out with us.
You have behind the scenes and
yeah, I've got more intimate stuff that you know, just us hanging out, you know, and stuff from UTET gigs and just this pieces of my life all the way through. And I've taken a lot of terrible photographs. There's a lot of real dog crap in there, you know, it's awful. But that's how you learn, you know, it's like.
And you could choose, there could be all 99 terrible ones and one great one.
Right, that's what you need is the one great one.
Yeah.
You know, from photo shoots with the Flecktones, there's this one that we were going to do a photo shoot and it ended up pouring rain. So we got these umbrellas, and I got this really great shot though of Béla. He's got the umbrella lifted, and he's against this really cool sort of graffitied wall, and it's raining, and it's getting towards night. It's just this really, really great shot from this day of like, no, we're not going to get anything here, you know. And so I've been going through and just kind of going through, and I'm pulling other stuff out and taking pictures and sending them to me. Man, remember this? And so it's like these trips down memory lane, and I can't get too caught up in it. I spent 4 hours the other night just going through, and I'm just fascinated by all this stuff that's in there.
Maybe a book in the future.
Probably, yeah. There's exhibits that I want to do. I have a lot of stuff I have too many plans for the time that I have available to me. You know?
Uh-huh.
It's only so many hours in the day.
Absolutely. How did you meet Dave Matthews, and how did you end up in the band?
I met those guys through the Flecktones. We were doing opening dates for them back in maybe 97 or 98. And so we did that a few times, and so, you know, we knew them over the years. And in 2008, Leroy Moore had a bad ATV wreck. Broke a bunch of ribs, broke his clavicle, scapula, which is the shoulder, and punctured a lung. And his head was fine, thank God, but he had to be airlifted out, you know. And so I got called to sub for him. I had less than 24 hours from the call to the next gig, but I was up in New York. All my stuff was here, and I was driving to Massachusetts. So I got the call, and from the Flecktones manager, and he said, "Told me the situation," and he said, "They want to know if you can sub." I said, "Well, when do they need me?" He said, "Right away." I said, "Well, what's right away?" He said, "The next gig's tomorrow in Charlotte." I was like, "Wow." I said, "Okay, well, tell them yes." I said, "Let me get off the phone and make some phone calls." And the Flecktones are off until November or December of that year, so I knew that I had the time available. And so Roy was supposed to recover in 2 to 3 months, and of course he didn't. He succumbed to his injuries a month in, a little over a month in, about a month and a half, August 19th of 2008.
So you were originally a sub. I mean, that's what
Just for a couple months, yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah. And so, you know, I didn't know their material. Again, coming into a band where I wasn't familiar with the material. So everything that I knew how to do, I had to use those tools, those fundamentals, to be able to do the gig. You know, and it was seamless from day one.
So what were some things for someone who would be thrown into a big, high-profile gig with a lot of material? What are some of the things you could do?
Well, you're gonna have all your stuff together. You know, there's flute on the gig, there's penny whistle, there's all 4 saxophones. Having those in good working order, making sure that you're competent on all 4 of them. Being able to write out music, because we had to write stuff out. So I had a little music stand and stand light and a 3-ring binder with plastic sheeting.
No iPad.
No iPad, no, of course not. And you know, in front of 20,000 people, and clothespins, so the music wasn't flying around. So you're gonna know how to kind of triage the situation, get in there and make it work, then make it work the next night, make it work the next night. And I wasn't playing the music to memorize it, right? I already had another gig, and but when Roy passed, I remember I called Béla, and I got a weird like kind of ringtone. I was like, well, you're certainly not in the U.S. So he answers, and it was like maybe about 2 in the afternoon, West Coast time. We were in L.A., and he's like, hello? I said, hey man, I said, what's up? He says, I'm in China. So I've been here for 2 weeks. He says, I haven't been able to make or receive a phone call this entire time. He said, how'd you get through to me? I said, I just dialed your number. And I told him, I said, I just got word that Roy Moore has passed. And I didn't know who else to call, quite honestly. And but it was very strange that like he was able to get that call. You know, having not been able to get anything for 2 years, it was kind of one of those kind of go like, oh, the universe. And but he told me, he said they're going to offer you that gig. You know, and he said we've been off a lot with the Flecktones lately, and he said, and when they do, you need to take it. And
Great, got his blessing.
yeah, he said this is a once in a lifetime opportunity, and he says you have to do it. You know, he says we're touring sparsely at this point, and he said, and I don't see that changing for a while, and in which I already knew that, you know, and so at the end of the year, you know, I had to talk with Dave and with management, and you know, so on and so forth, and so that's how it came about. You know, they knew that I could do what I do, and the hang factor is good. You know, I take care of business. There's no BS. I don't drink. I don't smoke. You know, it's a boring life.
Doesn't look boring, but yeah.
No, but it's a lot of work, man. It's a tremendous amount of work.
Mm.
And you know, sometimes we're in 3 cities in one day,
Wow.
and the recovery time gets harder. Every year it gets harder.
I'll bet.
And so I try to eat well. I try to exercise.
Mm.
I'm trying to get down to my fighting weight. You know.
Do you give yourself? Have you gotten to where you can like have nothing going on for a little bit or something? Give yourself more time to recover, or are you jumping right back into things?
A lot of times, man. You know, like I'll get home on a Sunday from tour and have to teach on Monday.
Mm-hmm.
So no, I don't.
So you're going.
Yeah, it's hard, and I need that. You know, it's like coming right back into a teaching situation. It's tough because then I've got to completely switch gears.
Mm-hmm.
My role is different at that point, you know, and I love it, but still having a little bit of time would be nice.
Yeah,
But Vanderbilt starts usually the 3rd week of August, which is still touring season.
Mm-hmm.
So when I get back, I'm right in,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Yeah.
And I could take a couple of days somewhere, which, you know, maybe I should, kind of clear my head.
Mm.
And so maybe this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe
Nice.
this year.
And maybe the book will come out. The photos and all that.
Yeah, maybe. That still takes a lot. That's
Yeah.
gonna take a lot of work.
Yeah, that wouldn't be
Yeah.
relaxing, I guess. But well, thank you for hosting us and for doing this.
Oh, my pleasure,
It's
man.
nice
Thank
to
you.
it's nice to learn more about you. You know, I did some research online. You know, to learn, but it's nice to chat and hear this.
Yeah,
so,
thanks.
yeah, thank you.
I appreciate it.
And we're gonna end the broadcast. And thank you for tuning in, folks. And we'll this will be up on YouTube, but also we'll get it onto Facebook and other places too.
Great. Great. Thanks.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Yeah,
Thanks,
thank
Clif.
you.
All right.
Yeah.
If y'all haven't heard Clif play, he's a wonderful, wonderful percussionist.
No, thank you.
Yeah, beautiful player.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.